Dropbox CEO Drew Houston was recently quoted as saying the following: "Our users are trapeze artists, high school football coaches, and I was even cornered by a group of theoretical physicists recently who gave raving reviews about Dropbox and their ability to send files and share experimental results with each other from across the world. This is what makes Dropbox unique. And although it is unique, in an increasingly digitized world, they must continue to find ways to differentiate themselves from other companies in the cloud sharing industry." A current state of Dropbox reveals the following. Dropbox is a multi-dimensional company who focuses on the following areas: access and organizing, creating, collaborating, and perhaps what they are most known for, file sharing. In essence, Dropbox provides file sharing services for a world that stores increasingly more data, documents, and information in the cloud. However, this is not enough in today's age. They must continue to differentiate themselves both domestically and internationally. As competitors enter the cloud, and existing competitors such as Microsoft OneDrive and Google Drive already exist, Dropbox must defend its position in the file sharing industry across the globe. A look at the chart behind me reveals that Google Drive is still the highest market share in the industry. However, the data in the packet is from 2020. This data is from 2022. You'll notice that Dropbox has increased its market share by 14% and now trails Google Drive by only 1% in the market. So this begs the question: how can Dropbox increase its market share and strategically position itself internationally amidst globalization? My name is Chase Bocart. This is my wonderful team, and our diverse skill sets allow us to tackle this issue head on. A few of our goals are as follows. Firstly, we want to grow our international presence. Secondly, we want to defend our market share through innovation. This begs the big question: how can Dropbox leverage its B2B competencies abroad? We're going to implement a fun framework and arrive at our impact, which these guys and girls will touch on down the road. So a look at the current cloud storage market reveals the following. The cloud storage market size has grown in revenue from 2017 to 2022. This is a very unique industry in that they were allowed to thrive in the midst of COVID instead of have a setback. The chart from a few slides ago reveals the following key insights. As I mentioned, Dropbox now lags only 1% behind the market leader, Google Drive. They have closed the share gap 14%, and they partner with only over 22 million businesses, including Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, and Canvas. Additionally, they partner with tons of SMEs, which we will also touch on. There are many external factors affecting the file sharing market, so we conducted a pestle analysis and want to focus specifically on a few areas. Firstly, the legal area. They need to improve standards for data protection and data privacy laws to protect customers' data. Socially, they're implementing work-from-home initiatives, as the article mentions. They provide unstaffed Dropbox studios across the world that are going to replace their offices. And then focus on environmental standards. Dropbox wants to make its data centers 100% carbon neutral. Technologically, they want to collaborate with virtual reality platform industries. These increase the need for cloud storage. So Dropbox's core competencies are as follows: reliability, collaboration, and customer support. We really want to hone in on reliability. They provide a 256-bit advanced encryption standard that helps protect customers' data. We also want to hone in on collaboration, as the last few years have really opened a door for Dropbox to thrive. And their partnerships with Zoom allow live file sharing to happen in Zoom meetings. They've also partnered with Canvas, one of the leaders in the educational institution, which allows large data to be transferred within universities and educational institutions. Consequently, in 2020, Dropbox served over 9 million businesses and 500,000 paying teams. But you might be wondering, how are they going to address the challenges posed to them? And I'm going to let Gracie take that away.
Thank you, Chase. So in the face of COVID-19 and virtual working environment, we have created something called the Dropbox Studios after we have implemented the virtual first approach. And so Dropbox Studios are something that allows customers, because we usually do 90% of the work at home through the virtual first approach, we've created Dropbox Studios so we're able to have team meetings, strategy meetings, and meetings with our clients. So this is what Dropbox Studio looks like a little bit. We have set up our old office locations. We have released most of our real estate up for it, and these are small collaborations office that you can rent out. And it's great because this allows us to hire people from around the globe and also localize with our clients and customers. We already have 4 locations with Dropbox Studios, included Austin, Seattle, Dublin, and also San Francisco, and we plan on expanding internationally to other Dropbox Studios. How can Dropbox expand its Dropbox Studios to best serve and grow its international presence? So first, we do this by having fun, and we're first going to illustrate focus. By this, we're going to leverage what Dropbox does best with business to business because this is most beneficial for long-term relationships and revenue growth. So where should Dropbox focus first? We will be focusing on the country of Luxembourg, and let me tell you a little bit about why we chose Luxembourg. So first, we'll open the Dropbox Studio in Luxembourg so we can have that dynamic work from home structure since we have implemented the virtual first approach. So as you can see, we're focusing on the number of small, medium enterprises. So all of these countries have a high percentage of small and medium enterprises. And as the case mentioned, we have focused on low corporate tax return, which is beneficial because that's what Dropbox is looking for in its international expansion, and also high GDP per capita, which makes Luxembourg the perfect option. Also added that compared to the other EU countries, Luxembourg has the highest value added for its small and medium-sized enterprises, which also makes it the top option. We've also showed how there's been a constant rate and increase of Luxembourg small and medium-sized enterprises, which also makes Luxembourg a top choice. And so within that, Luxembourg small and medium enterprises, we're going to focus on a specific industry that I'm going to tell Erica to pass it off on.
Awesome, thank you, Gracie. So for our go-to-market strategy, we do want to tap into all SMEs in the Luxembourg region. However, we're first looking at going to event management companies. Event management software is actually valued at $5.8 billion currently, and it is growing at a 12.5% CAGR, compounded average growth rate. So if you take a look here, Luxembourg is actually riddled with management places, such as Wonder Events in Com, Ganame, and the Partyville. So by targeting these owners to onboard, Dropbox can tap into the local client base through marketing campaigns and through this onboarding process. For instance, Laura, she's the owner of Wonder Events in Com. She typically manages over 6 clients at a time. She has to deal with invoices, contracts, payment systems, emails, all these different things. And Dropbox's file sharing platform is a great place for Laura to use. So we really want to tap into this market here. So what can Dropbox create for our Luxembourg users? Unify. We are looking at unifying collaborative processes in an all-in-one spot, which we'll be talking about in our Dropbox tip-top implementation. So our second recommendation is to create an in-house customer relationship management system. So by taking Dropbox's B2B current processes of file sharing, communication channels, and then integrating that in-house CRM system, small business owners can have a one-stop shop for all their business needs. Now, CRM systems are also increasing. They're actually targeted to hit over $150 billion in the market as of 2029, and it's growing exponentially as well. Now, Dropbox actually currently is integrated with Salesforce. If y'all have heard of that, it is one of the largest customer relationship management platforms out there, but we believe that if they create their own in-house system, it can do wonders for them and their revenue growth.
Erica, how did you come up with the name Dropbox TipTop?
That's a great question, Taylor. So Dropbox tip-top. Tip-top is actually a term used in Luxembourg to communicate enthusiastic agreement and collaboration. And in English, tip-top means of the very best quality or excellent shape. So we want to have an excellent software for owners to use. Now, some of the client needs that will be addressed include simultaneous collaboration on channels, to-do lists, task management, streamlined communication channels, and client-specific holders, among other things. So Dropbox, again, currently offers all of this. It would just be in one suite. We are saying that they should also put a CRM system in there as well. Here's a quick little MVP drafted up. So you see here, we've got Projects tab, a Tasks tab. We've got the chat box features, invoices, as well as the CRM dashboard. Very user-friendly, very navigatable, and that's what small business owners and SMEs are looking for. So now I'm going to pass it on to Taylor to talk about the innovation.
Thank you so much, Erica. So now I'll talk a little bit about our fun framework, specifically Navigate. We are helping Dropbox navigate the new virtual waters we found ourselves in through collaborating with different types of communication and enhancing platforms for them. We plan to do this by integrating virtual reality and video chatting services with Dropbox. This would allow Dropbox to directly compete with Microsoft Teams, one of their bigger competitors, and this would help defend their market share and enhance their platform. And we plan to do this by collaborating with Meta, specifically with Meta's Workrooms, which is their virtual reality platform, and Meta Workplace, which is their business collaboration platform. You may ask, how are they going to collaborate with Meta? Specifically, we have had a working relationship with Meta, then Facebook at the time, to archive their Instagram and their Facebook images. In addition to that, our CEO, Mr. Houston, has served on the board of directors for Meta for the past 2 years, since 2020. So we have a great working relationship with Meta, and both of these platform implementations would enhance the company as a whole for both. Here on the left side, you can see Dropbox Business. This is our user interface for Dropbox Business that we have right now, which allows our customers to enhance their platforms through file sharing, collaboration, and other efforts such as file requesting and commenting. On the right side, you can see Meta Workplace, which specifically allows the customers to be able to collaborate as a team as a whole throughout the entire company, which I'll touch on later in the presentation. Right here, you can see Workrooms, which is Meta's VR platform. We plan to implement Dropbox with this so you don't have to leave the virtual reality platform whenever you are trying to grab a file and leave the file. And then with virtual reality, we had a big struggle with getting communication with one another. With us living in a virtual environment for the past 2 years, people have been needing that face-to-face contact. This virtual reality will allow people with the work from home work model, people working with people internationally, to be able to talk face-to-face. We can even give you the presentation we're giving now through virtual workrooms. For example, they're currently working on a presentation and talking and collaborating on their Dropbox files. Next, we have the Workplace platform. The importance of this is to collaborate as a team. You can also post the newsfeed for announcements. You can share files and all that other great jazz for the platform. Right here, you can see a user actually collaborating through Meta's conversations and meetings, which allows them to have the video chatting platform. And then you can also enhance that with the Dropbox feature as well. So now we've developed a plan to make Dropbox's journey fun. What now? We have the implementation strategy utilizing our fun framework. For example, whenever focusing on expanding to Luxembourg, we plan to partner with business owners and onboard them, and then do a marketing campaign throughout the entirety of that process. Next, for our next two processes, that specifically deals with software development, which you can see the software process of the development, the testing, and the implementation and the product upkeep after the release of the product. And the way we can measure our success in this specifically is through 3 KPIs. And all the KPIs can be a little bit interchangeable, such as active users 3 years post-launch, break-even point, and then also quantity of users abroad. And then here is our revenue platform. Specifically, I'd like to highlight the Luxembourg revenue from our first recommendation, where we expect $327.6 million in revenue with an enhancement of 1.39 million users. In addition to that, for our recommendations 2 and 3, we implemented those revenue expectations in the US and international revenue. I'd specifically like to highlight the revenues are almost an even split between the two, thanks to Dropbox's diverse market share. And then throughout this presentation, we have grown international presence and explained how Dropbox will defend its market share through innovation. We've done this through business-to-business collaboration and through our fund framework, specifically focusing on SMEs in Luxembourg, and then also by uniting through an all-inclusive platform and then navigating the new virtual waters we find ourselves in today. Like I mentioned in the slide before, our impact will be onboarding 1.39 million new users and expanding in revenue of $327.6 million by 2025. Thank you all for your time. Please let us know if you have any questions.
Very good, fun presentation. So, why the focus on Luxembourg? Right? So, let me put the question in a different way. If you set up a Dropbox studio in Luxembourg,
So for the most part, we did SMEs because they have the really high growth rate, and we wanted to start with a specific event planning industry. And so we showed the growth of small SMEs, and since we were doing B2Bs, the average growth and the growth per capita we could find for SMEs specifically was really high in Luxembourg.
Yeah, to add to that, in the case it mentions that Dropbox has already tried to expand to Taiwan, and that was a failure because they had noticed a correlation between high GDP per capita specifically and a successful implementation. And so that, in addition to, they went to Dublin, Ireland because of a low corporate tax rate. So we used that as our two driving figures in this heat map. And you can see by far that Luxembourg has the highest GDP per capita. So despite their small population, we thought this might be a great first place to expand to. And this is not our only place we're expanding to. That is just our first recommendation. And international expansion will continue.
And in addition to that, the importance of the international expansion, the reason they are creating these specific Dropbox studios is where they can build a business partner base in that area. And whenever the business partners, they really utilize the support, the customer support a lot when they're doing business-to-business transactions. And whenever they're on a phone call, they much prefer to have someone in their specific region rather than speaking to someone from the United States. So whenever we continue using this model to expand in the future, we plan to look for countries with low corporate tax rates, high level of adoption for technology, and then a higher GDP per capita. And then we can expand from there, and that would allow our customer base to really tailor its business to a certain area, build word of mouth of Dropbox, and then also create that real relationship in the society just through talking to someone who sounds or is from a similar area to you.
Just a follow-up. Is this SME-based strategy driven by this virtual first goal of Dropbox? Is it? I mean, so are you taking the virtual first as a given? Yeah.
Specifically with the SMEs, we plan to kind of capture the SME market, but we also do work with large cap businesses. For example, Dropbox currently takes up 56% of the Fortune 500 companies. So we do work with the large cap companies, but we want to focus on SME, the small business integration and small and medium integration abroad, because we can capture those markets, build the base from the lower level of the companies, and then kind of work upwards from there. And we want to capture that market because companies abroad, they like to work with Dropbox over other companies because of the Patriot Act, for example. They like to utilize the servers of Dropbox in their area rather than having to deal with a server in the United States because they don't like that regulation. They don't like that U.S. oversight on that as well. And that's why we're expanding both their Dropbox offices and then also expanding the servers into abroad countries to kind of get that footholding for those who prefer to work with a company that does not only work in the United States. Yes.
Well, thank you for your presentation. So it sounds like you've made the recommendation that Dropbox should continue to compete aggressively in the B2C space through innovation. Is that correct?
Specifically the B2B through innovation. For the B2C space, we specifically thought that we realized through the freemium model that the B2C is pretty self-sustaining through either word of mouth or social media. And most of those users really do not transfer over to the full-time subscription. They usually just stick to the free subscription. And there was actually, it mentioned this in the case study, but specifically with the businesses, when they would do the free trial, they would almost always convert to the paid version, and then the users only had a 4% conversion rate. So we found the B2C to be more self-sustaining, not really much of a focus as of right now, which we do need to develop in the future to kind of up that number. But as of right now, we'd like to focus on the B2B workplace through innovation, whether that be through expansion or through the virtual reality and the video chatting, like I mentioned earlier. But also, in addition to that, for our recommendation 3 for the virtual reality and video chat, similar to how in teams, in academics, and then working on team projects just in your personal life, people use Teams. So people in the B2C would be able to use this platform as well, but we are mainly marketing it towards businesses similar to how Microsoft Teams advertises their platform towards businesses and schools and places which uses high collaboration.
So, how much do you think that Dropbox should invest in virtual reality, things of that nature? I mean, it's great to say innovation, but it all comes down to how much money are you willing to put behind that, like how much Meta is investing
Specifically, when expanding the metaverse, we found that the metaverse would set them apart because as of right now, Dropbox doesn't have any video chatting capabilities, and partnering with Meta would allow them to have the video chatting capabilities and have the virtual reality capabilities. But VR is not for everyone. Some people get a little sick, some people don't want to have a headset on forever, but it is an amazing feature for people who would like to utilize that feature. And that's what would set them apart from Microsoft Teams, and that's why we implemented the virtual reality aspect of it as well with the video chatting and the business collaboration that they have through the Microsoft Workplace. But for a specific number, I'd probably have to look more into giving you a financial on that, but Chase might be able to answer differently on that.
Yeah, we did not compute financials specifically geared toward VR, but the case does mention we are assuming this virtual first approach, which means that employees will typically work from home. The case mentions that there will be $400 million lost in the industry because of the productivity of employees working from home, but it says there's a $1.2 trillion opportunity created in losing office environment distractions and things of that nature. You can do that math, a 1-to-3 ratio. So I think if you take that other 2/3 and invest that towards the virtual reality, that would be a fair thing to say.
So just to push on a little bit more, so you guys have high conviction that virtual reality TV is the way of the future, and how soon do you see that being something that's widely adopted?
We see it being more of an aspect of the expansion. Virtual reality is currently an aspect of today. It's grown significantly over the past 5 years alone. And with virtual reality, it's better to not ignore it as a feature. Everyone may not use it, but it's important to allow people who would like to utilize it to be able to use it. But we are collaborating with Meta not only just for the virtual reality aspect, but mainly for the video chatting, the collaboration, and the team chatting, and the creating groups. For example, in the Meta workplaces, that really doesn't use virtual reality at all. It's more the workspace that allows virtual reality. And by collaborating with workspace and workplace will really allow you to create as many groups as you want in your company, communicate announcements to your group, and really be similar to a Microsoft Teams aspect, but for Dropbox to compete in that market. Virtual reality is important to implement, and then for creating, it's a created market for a space that a company shouldn't ignore.
And to go off that a little bit of what Taylor is saying, another key component is that we are focusing on virtual reality, but a huge part of it is integrative. Dropbox makes a ton of money because they are so integrative with other platforms. Like, they do partner with over 22 million business companies. So our partnership with Meta is seen as an investment, and they are very competent so far in integrating with other companies. And so by doing so with Meta, we believe that it'll be a more seamless process for them. It's something that they're very used to, and so they wouldn't have to devote as much cost as other companies would to developing a partnership, since that is their line of work.
Okay, so you guys will have to be the first person in the space to say, hey, we're partnering to be able to offer virtual reality options, and that's a point of differentiation for the B2B sales?
Yes, that would differentiate us from Microsoft Teams specifically.
Okay.
I think it was slide 18 maybe, where you actually had like the pain points of the knowledge workers. Maybe it was
The client needs.
no, I think that was that slide where you were before.
Oh, it was that one.
I can talk a bit about those while he's pulling it up. So major needs when we're looking into the market of event management software, which is, again, a growing market, is the need to navigate between clients and have user-friendly interfaces. Right now, Dropbox Business is great for big companies. They use it for small companies as well. But when it comes to service-based industries, that is where there needs to be a little bit more user-friendly interfaces. As you can see, again, this is just a rough mock-up. But the key components that they look at is task management. They look at organization. They're going to look at payment processes. They look at, again, chat boxes, things like that, being able to communicate with clients and with vendors and with service providers all in one place in a customer relationship management system. Now, the reason that we said that they should do it in-house is, again, they are integrated with Salesforce. A lot of small business users will use Salesforce Essentials, which is roughly $30 a month, but we're proposing that if they had Dropbox for business. And then if they were able to implement the CRM system, that would reduce costs for these small, medium enterprises and make it more lucrative and more efficient for our company.
So my question was, so somebody was asking me, what do you do for a living? I'd say, I talk on the phone, and I read and I write emails. And I happen to do banking. So, I'm constantly managing people, folks that are around me. I report to my managers. I'm having to deal with deadlines. I'm having to prioritize. There's so many hours a day. I've got young children I have to get back to after the day ends. So how is your thought here and use of virtuality technology going to address the pain points that I deal with as executive on a daily basis?
That is a great question. So with this system that we're proposing and emails, it would be a one-stop shop, as in, so you would have all of your emails in one place that are coming in from a lot of different people, right? So you have emails, but they're all coming in from different companies. By creating this system and this database, it allows you to utilize templates for emails to save time. It allows you to use reminders for sending emails. It allows you to manage them in the phone calls and to be able to track them in a more organized way. And whenever it has the CRM base, since you do have tons of different things you're working on, tons of different people you're reporting to, you can actually file it based on person. So if you're reporting to your manager, everything related to your manager, those emails would get sent to that place. Files, emails, phone calls. If it's for a coworker, that would be a completely different folder. This would be customizable, so it may not be clients for a worker in the consulting space. It could be coworkers, bosses, peers, things like that. Does that answer your question?
On one of the slides, you talked to it as well, you pointed out that Dropbox had grown market share by 40% since 2020. So what are the drivers for that? What led to that, and was that growth international, domestic, where did that come from? What were the factors that led to that growth?
Yeah, so they had a lot more partnerships that they did. They also released a lot of new marketing campaigns and I'd say subsidiary endeavors, ventures. So for instance, they did Dropbox Paper, they did Dropbox passwords. Have y'all ever used LastPass or password management systems before? They released one of those. They've really just tapped into all of the different cloud-based services that they possibly can. So I would say that the integrative services and then utilizing their platform for a bunch of different subsets of their organization has been a huge driving factor in the past 2 years.
And I don't expect you to know, but how much of that growth came from the small and medium enterprises? Would you know?
I think we have a slide in our appendix about it. We do know that there was a huge growth in the B2B sector. To narrow it down to SMEs, I don't believe we would need to look more into that. But we do know that they actually also launched a marketing campaign to target freelancers and 1099 type workers, so that probably increased revenue as well, since the 1099 market is also growing at a very high rate.
Well, I was going to say, it was good that you guys had a specific strategy on how to differentiate Dropbox in the B2C sales through innovation, and you gave some specifics on how to do that. So just want to point out that was very good.
Thank you so much.
So I've got a comment. I thought you guys did a great job, and you guys are probably too young to know who Wayne Gretzky is. But what made Wayne Gretzky a great hockey player was because he knew where the puck stick was going. I mean the puck was going. Not the puck, the stick, the puck. And that's where Mark Zuckerberg is brilliant, because he knows where it's going. So where you guys did a good invest, you burn cash like crazy. The other problem was I noticed that your revenues were actually not increasing significantly to a very conservative approach of growing your revenue. So if you're going to take a conservative approach, you don't have the cash flow to pay for these two things that was discussed. So, and that's the other thing is, a lot of shareholders here, are the shareholders going to be happy with the growth rates that you're assuming? That's the last question. Maybe a rhetorical question.
So your question is how would we get the funding specifically?
Yes.
Well, one thing that we could highlight is Dropbox has a lot of corporate partners, and those corporate partners want to see Dropbox succeed since they are utilizing Dropbox's system. So we could honestly look for funding through loans or either revenue growth through their corporate partners by requesting revenue from them. We specifically might offer more shares being a public company, but I think it would be better to look towards our corporate partners for looking for funding, because as Dropbox improves as a company and grows, then their partnership with them would improve as well. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank